On today's episode, I'm joined by Andrea Ocampo, a creator, innovator, and architect of influence.
I really understood the importance of community, and I had a great platform that your fan base was going to be that bridge. I really saw my rapport on Twitter and on Facebook grow. That's what really gave me the aha moment. Like, social media could be my ticket to something special.
She's built communities, launched movements, and forged paths where none existed before.
What advice would you give for women listening who are looking to step outside of their comfort zones?
I think that your work needs to speak for itself. I think you need to strive for excellence. And I think when you do that and really put your nose to the grindstone and really love what you do and just do good work, I think your brilliance and I think your work is going to play a role and be seen as amazing in your field.
With clarity, purpose, and courage, Andrea turns ideas into impact.
What do you think your personal X factor is?
I would say that I see people clearly. I love to tell people stories and company stories. A lot of the times, people don't know that their personal story really matters. It fills me up when I'm able to bring that out of somebody. For me, it's very gratifying to help a client do that.
Andrea, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I've been so excited to talk to you. I love your journey from transforming and pivoting all the different stages of Miami Dolphins cheerleader to today being a partner in Purple Crayon and a few pivots in between all of that.
A lot of pivots.
A lot of pivots. Why don't you start by taking us through some of those pivots in your own words?
Oh, of course. I call the pivot the tap dance, right? My journey started, I always wanted to be a dancer growing up. And when I was 18, 19, I was going to college to be a journalist. Mm-hmm. Barbara Walters was my idol. And I always imagined myself being a news reporter, but I always had a passion for dancing. And when I was 18, I used to dance at different dance studios all around South Florida. And then all the girls used to go to the dance auditions. And one of the auditions was Miami Dolphins. This was the start of my amazing journey, and I didn't know at the time, right? I auditioned for the Miami Dolphins while I was getting my journalism degree at FIU, and I made the team at 18. And what was interesting about that is that I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just knew I wanted to dance, and I went with a group of amazing girls to audition, and then I made the team my rookie year. That was a very long time ago. I was Dan Marino's last year, so we can all do the math. But it was amazing because it really set the tone of where my career was headed. I was very aware that this was a great opportunity for my journalism career. And I'm fully bilingual, originally from Colombia. So I really was able to use the fact that I spoke English and Spanish to be able to break into the world of journalism and entertainment. And I said yes to every gig possible to get my experience on the red carpet and to really learn what it was to be a journalist. I did that for 3 years with the Miami Dolphins, and after that, I got chosen to be the national spokesperson for Zumba. They needed a bilingual spokesperson, get this, that could dance and speak on the microphone. So I was
at the
same time, and my mom was really confused because she was like, Andrea, what are you going to be doing now? I'm like, no, I'm going to continue to dance. And I'm going to be using my gift as a journalist.
Yes.
And it just was interesting because it was just a lot of opportunities and doors opening and me failing many times in between and saying yes to all the opportunities, even if they were free. And I auditioned for entertainment. I got a call back for them. It was a lot of no's and a lot of breaks. And then I would say the amazing moment of my career specifically was when the Florida Panthers said that they would give me an opportunity. I didn't know anything about hockey, but what I knew is that when I went to the game with the Florida Panthers back in the day, I saw the team reporter and the arena host, and I was like, I can do that. And I always say to the game presentation director at the time, I stalked him until he gave me an opportunity. And he finally gave me an opportunity. I mean, there were millions of emails and millions of reasons as to why it was the perfect fit, although I didn't know hockey, but I could learn. And I would say that Pete Soto, he's the one who gave me my first chance. And it was amazing because with that opportunity with the Florida Panthers, I became their Hispanic marketing director my 4th season.
And the first female, right?
For the pay-to-play, yes.
Yes.
And that was interesting because I didn't know it was the first. I was just trying to find my way specifically. When I say the first, it was the fourth. They wanted to execute a bilingual marketing campaign, and everybody was scratching their head as to what does that really look like. And I said, soccer. There's a parallel with soccer and hockey, so we really took that that by the horns. And then after that, I worked after my 4 seasons with the Florida Panthers. I got hired by the WWE to be their ring announcer. My mom was still very confused about that career. It was a situation where mom was still saying, Barbara Walters. Where does Barbara Walters come in? Because, which is quite funny because my parents are a huge reason as to me following my dreams. I know I had them a little bit worried because my journey was never linear, right? It was a lot of ups and downs, and success seemed a little strange. To me, it was a lot of success, right? I was having a good time.
Yes.
Then after the WWE, I was a ring announcer for Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I still didn't know what I was doing in regards to in the ring, but they gave me a chance. And I just did a lot of on-camera opportunities that came my way. And then after my last stint with sports, I launched my marketing agency, which was called Social Sided Media. So that's a very short version. And that little story is like maybe 12 years of my career. And in between, I did FAU football, and I did a lot of sports in between.
So take us from that arc, from sort of sports. Now you've gone into sort of media, we'll say. It is sort of marketing and media. So let's stay on there for a second and then take us into the arc of technology, because you've made that sort of pivot as well.
I did. It was interesting because I always say that I wasn't a great sports reporter. I was a great marketer. All right, I was a great marketer. Right? I was like, I really understood the importance of community. I understood that if you are going to represent a sports team, and I had a great platform, that your fan base was going to be that bridge. Yes. And I saw that as an opportunity to connect with the fans. And I was connecting with the fans. I was just having an amazing time, and I really saw my rapport on Twitter at the time. Yeah. On Twitter and on Facebook grow. And I think that's what really gave me the aha moment. Like, social media could be my ticket to something special. And back in the day, it's not what social media is now, right? Everybody has a TikTok account. Everybody's an expert in social media, and everybody understands the importance. But I think at the time, while I was doing sports, social media hadn't become that fierce platform that we see now. And then when I realized that I was figuring something out, I started to do a lot of social media marketing consulting for free. I just loved it. I love teaching people how to be able to communicate with your community. And people just asked me a lot for my advice and whatnot.
Is that with like friends?
That was with friends, clients? And also with athletes, because athletes, obviously, that was my sphere of influence.
Of course, you had a lot. Yeah, you had access to a lot of athletes.
And I was like, sure, let me help you. And then little by little, I was doing a lot of social media marketing for athletes, which sports has always been a part of my world. Even if I shimmy out of it, it will bring me back in one way or another. So I realized that I was really creating an understanding of marketing, social media, and the importance, all while being a TV producer and honing my on-camera talent on camera. But I just knew that social media marketing was going to be a lot bigger. And I always pride myself and try to be 5 steps ahead of trends. I mean, if you're in media, you have to.
Yes.
I mean, you die and live by it. What do they say? You're as good as your last gig.
Yeah.
And I don't live by that anymore, but back in the day, I really did. So I was always trying to catch up to what was new, what was different. So that always kept me 5 steps ahead.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about personal brand, because as you've weaved through these different chapters, these different pivots, you've also been molding your own personal brand. And when we think about marketing, when we think about brand building, how have you thought about crafting your own personal brand?
At the time, I was really connecting with the community, with the Florida Panthers. Let's just say, I didn't know I was building a brand. I just was doing something that I loved, was really connecting with my community. And I think when everything just started, when I looked back and I was thinking, what am I doing? What's the next step? I really realized that I was building something.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't say I'm building a brand. I'm building a brand. I think I was in the hamster wheel of creation and just catching up with success, where I didn't know that I was really creating a body of work.
Right.
Right when I launched my agency, that's when I realized I'm actually building a brand. I'm building something, because when my clients would want my advice, they're like, I want to create what you've done for yourself. And I was like,
Yeah.
what have I done?
I say that to our real estate agents. Real estate agents will say to me like, well, Wendy, how do I build my brand in real estate? I'm like, you're asking me the wrong question. Probably what you want to know is like, how do I sell more real estate? Right? If you focus on selling more real estate, that's going to lead to building your brand. If you are not selling any real estate, but asking me how to build a brand, that's the wrong question, right?
That's brilliant that you help your real estate agents frame it like that.
Yeah. It's the wrong framing. So fast forward to storytelling, because you developed a passion and I think like a real talent for helping people tell their stories. So tell me a little bit about that.
I love sharing a lot of it's easy to share your wins. It's not very easy to share your falls and your sad moments. I really felt that I was able to connect with my audience and my friends online and my community when I was just really authentic about my failures and wins. And when I realized that I was sharing a little bit about my life in even places I never thought I would, I realized that I was onto something. And I also realized that I wanted to just communicate the same thing that I was executing in my life. Does that make sense? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about AI. I mean, you are at the forefront of AI and sort of, I'll call it the AI movement. And one of the things that you have talked about is that, implementing AI and AI systems without losing that human touch. So how do you think about that? And how do you coach and consult to people about that?
So I think that brings it back to storytelling, because what's interesting is I've never been a techie person, which is wild, right? Because a lot of people think AI, techie, you need to know all of these things.
Yeah.
I knew when I was telling my story and helping people tell their story, and when I realized that technology was here and there was a lot of fear behind AI, right? Or a fear about technology. I'm the type of person that I don't like to be in fear. So I like to do a lot of research, and I'm very, very, very curious. And when I'm curious and I know I want to be an expert specifically, I went to the resources that actually knew about AI. And I asked a lot of questions. How can I integrate storytelling with AI? And I asked, do we have a reason to be scared? Especially as a TV presenter, TV host, and producer, I'm like, am I going to lose my job?
That's a question a lot of people are asking right now.
Of course.
Across all jobs, right? All industries.
Absolutely. So my journey with that did start with asking those questions. And a lot of them are fear-based at the beginning. But I think it's important to turn it on its head, because I'm an eternal optimist. I'm an eternal optimist, and I wanted to understand where that fear was coming from overall. And then I realized there's an actual opportunity to really lean into storytelling. And that's where my TED Talk came about. And that's where things just started to become a lot clearer. And I was able to coach people and explain to them that ideally AI is our research partner, right? Let's not embrace the fear. Let's be really curious and continue to ask questions and continue to learn. And that's where I started to go to a mastermind down here in Miami called The Collective, which I give them all the love and support, because that's where my curiosity started. My curiosity started there. I started to go a lot to their masterminds, and I started to take their classes. And then I started just to really integrate what I understood about AI into the world of storytelling. I mean, for me, I use AI as a research partner. It allows me to be able to scale faster, but I always anchor it in storytelling, because a lot of the times, some things are starting to look and feel the same.
Yes.
But our story is always going to be uniquely yours. Nobody's going to be able to take away your childhood. Nobody is ever going to be able to take away what gave you the inspiration to launch your business, the memories that you have with your family. And some people say, what does that have to do with your business? Literally everything.
Everything, right? That's what makes us unique. And yeah, I always say that AI is our thought partner.
Yes.
But we're still the thought leader.
100%. And if it starts to invert, we have to slow down.
Yes.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the white noise of, this is the latest AI. This is what you got to know. If you don't know, you're going to be left behind. So I think you really need to check yourself and your team to really understand that this is your thought partner and we can't sound like everybody else.
Yes. And I think we have to push ourselves not to be lazy marketers and do the sort of the copy-paste.
And then lean back.
Yeah, exactly. The ChatGPT like prompt, copy and paste, my marketing is done.
And we're all learning, right? And I think there's that curve of if we all start to sound like one another, we have these open conversations and then really talk about being a human is so nuanced, right? We know when ChatGPT...
It's a little complicated.
It's a little complicated. We don't even understand ourselves. So I don't believe that AI will replace us. I personally see when AI is speaking to me, I think we should get excited and continue to be curious and learn. You cannot stop learning when it comes to this.
Yes, I heard Mark Cuban recently say that he believes that the new jobs that AI will create will be for people who can help humans implement and integrate AI into the workplace. And that we don't even know what the name of those jobs will be, but those will be the new jobs that will be created because of AI, and that the humans that can do that will be in high demand in the future.
And I love what you said, because for me, what you said is help.
Yes.
Right? We hear a lot of the doom and gloom where it comes to AI. I think it's very important to understand that there has to be conscious leaders behind AI.
Yes.
Just as much there are the scary leaders behind AI. We need to have AI in the right hands and the dreamers, doers, people that want to help. And I truly believe there's more of that than the other. But I think that's why we need to be very proactive and doing the research and ask yourself, am I going to be a helper in creating this technology and facilitate this education to others? And if I don't know, I'm going to learn and find out.
Yes, absolutely. We talked a little bit about sort of breaking barriers as sort of a woman in leadership roles, and you've certainly pushed those boundaries.
Thank you.
And taken some risks, and I love that so much. What advice would you give for women listening who are looking to step outside of their comfort zones and push some of those boundaries for themselves and in whatever that means in their life, in the stage that they're in?
I think that your work needs to speak for itself. I think you need to strive for excellence. I think I've been doing this for 20 plus years or more. And I always say on this side of the fence because I am so comfortable in the decisions that I've made. I'm very comfortable in the failures that are embarrassing, but I'm very comfortable speaking about those failures. And I'm very comfortable now speaking up in a boardroom in front of people that may look a little scarier. And when I say scarier, I mean, I work in sports. I'm 5'1", right? The majority are male driven, but I think we need to strive to be excellent in what we do. And I think when you do that and really put your nose to the grindstone and really love what you do and just do good work and execute with the things that you say you're going to execute. I think your brilliance and I think your work is going to play a role and be seen as amazing in your field. I also double down in saying that it's okay to listen to your instincts because a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we don't want to listen to our instincts because we feel like we're going to get in trouble. I'm not afraid of making mistakes anymore. I mean, sometimes I go, oh my God, the ramifications of that, I don't know what's going to come of it, but I'm no longer afraid to fail forward because I really believe that is very important to understand that. The only way you learn, the only way you become an executive, the only way that you're going to receive that opportunity is to step forward, make the mistake. And at the end of the day, you don't have to be one thing. I think the older generation wants you to be in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a side gig, an e-course, if you do macrame at night, a lot of times we hide those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now that the newer generation, it's okay that you're 85 things. This is my opinion.
Right.
And I think the older generation is learning that you cannot put your best leaders or your brightest minds in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to really lose out on amazing opportunities if they're judged on people like that.
Yes. I think that failing forward and not being in that box is really important. You talked about being like 5'1" and being in some like intimidating rooms. A lot of women suffer from imposter syndrome. And like you have been like in some pretty intimidating like spaces in your career. Like, did you ever have that feeling of like, do I belong here? Or did that confidence just always appear?
I think I've been terrified all the time.
Thank you for telling me that.
No,
because
I've been terrified.
I was listening to you saying, please tell me that like she's human.
I feel fear all the time. But what is fear? Fear is not knowing, right? The unknown. I felt the fear and I just did it anyway. And now, it's funny, at this side of the fence, like I said, I'm not afraid to say after work, I cry. Right? Because we are so conditioned, or as women, that you need to be this girl boss, strong, no emotion,
solid all the time.
And I will say I came to this realization maybe a year ago when I looked around and I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm really comfortable in my skin and I'm really comfortable with being vulnerable in rooms and saying I'm not that boss girl. I have it all figured out.
To lead the same way we see, particularly men.
100%. Yes, they lead with obviously this a different way. And I think having those conversations is really important because we do not think like men. We do not lead like men. We're all very different. And I think as a woman, we feel things a little bit different and we communicate very different.
I think having those conversations with the male leaders we lead with is important.
Of course. I mean, I'm not going to say in the boardroom, I cry. Right? Yeah. I'm going to say it in a very different way. But the whole point is like, I have always felt fear and I've always said yes anyway, because that's the only way you're going to get the opportunity. My passion for what I was doing just always led more than my fear. Mm-hmm. And I think that was always my compass, right?
Let's just drill in on that one. Your passion for what you were doing always led more than the fear.
Yes.
So you let the passion drive you forward more than the fear hold you back.
Of course. So it was like 80% passion, 20% fear. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good Richter scale, right? If moving forward, if you feel little butterflies, I think that's very important. Yeah. I mean, we're human. We're supposed to feel fearful. And at the same time, understanding where those fears come from. A lot of self-development and spiritual development, understanding where that comes from. And now that I've done a lot of the inner work, it's led me to become a better leader because I ask those questions. I try not to repeat cycles and it allows me just to feel the fear and do it anyway.
That's great. You've also done a lot of really great work around building community and particularly your Miami Women Dinner series. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm so excited. My heart has always been with my community. And I think that stems from working with the Florida Panthers. Like I said, I was a better marketer and a better leader because of speaking to our community via Twitter and at games. I thought it was important to build a fan base, one fan at a time. Mm-hmm. So being able to go into the stands and say hello to a fan, I really have been able to take that thought and implement it to everything that I do. And I've been wanting to create a circle of amazing women like yourself to really create an opportunity where it's not just networking, but an opportunity for us to have this type of conversations. And so many high achievers, they get stuck in where do I go? Where is a conversation a little bit different? And I am a huge fan of nervous system regulation and marketing and branding. So I want to create the dinner series, which we have been creating behind the scenes, of amazing women here in South Florida, kicking off our dinner series in Miami, then Broward, and West Palm Beach, to be able to have an intimate dinner, to have these conversations. And ideally for next year, kick off a mastermind where we really have a workshop where we talk about how do we create the most successful version of ourselves, which is all about nervous system regulation and understanding your potential to be successful. And then when you're ready, we can talk about your marketing and branding to obviously break barriers.
I love it. Oh, such a great thing. It's amazing.
I learned about the nervous system like 2 years ago. I'm like, which is wild.
Yeah.
I know I sound so silly sometimes when I talk about it, but if I knew about the nervous system and the role that it had in our success and how we control fear, I was like,
yes,
my journey would have been a lot easier.
Well, I was going to ask you, because of all those years like on camera, I mean, we get nervous on camera, and particularly now with so much social media, and so many of us get so nervous with that idea of turning the phone on, right, and recording. So for you, like what tips and tricks like do you use even maybe today when you think of like going on camera, or what coaching do you give to clients when they think of like going on camera to bring that nervous system down, to like control those nerves?
So I love that question. I love working with people to really appear on camera as their best selves and really talk about that fear and really try to identify the fight or flight response and communicate this is completely normal. I've
never feels really
normal. It never feels normal. I know, because a lot of times you feel like you're about to die because your breath stops and then you catastrophize the moment. I've gotten caught on live TV, completely blank stare. That was in the WWE days. Vince McMahon was very mad at me.
So I don't imagine he was kind and gentle about it either.
No, it wasn't, but it's what's so interesting because I've experienced those terrifying moments on stage, and understanding that you have a physiological response, and then really understanding that it's not just your fear. This is completely normal. So I like to do a lot of different types of breathing techniques. I love to do visualization when personally, which may sound silly, but this is part of the coaching that I do, even something that I do. When I start to feel fearful, and there's been moments where I've had to mentally prep, I start to do this, the rubbing.
And do you do like box breathing?
I do.
To bring your heart rate down?
Yep, the box breathing. That's literally what I start off with because it's very easy to explain specifically.
Yes.
And I think just the breathing aspect, because we forget to breathe.
Yes.
It sounds so simple, but people forget to breathe. And there's a slew of exercises that I love to do, but visualization is important.
Yes.
Right? And the way we speak to ourselves is very, very, very important.
Yes. Yeah. I had a voice coach years ago when I first started doing public speaking that taught me to sort of like speak from my diaphragm, bring the voice down, because the voice will go up in pitch, right? So
of course, I learned that in my early sports days. I was not very good on. I sounded very, very pitchy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. So if you were to think about, how a marketing leader is implementing AI into their business, and like if you had one tool that a marketing leader should be thinking about AI, what tool would you tell them to go to implement today?
I think, obviously, when you think of AI, people think ChatGPT, but there's so many other research partners out there. I personally love Perplexity because we work with a lot of medical technology companies, so the research is quite intense and case studies. So I personally love Perplexity.
Yeah.
Have a robust AI research partner and a repurposing tool.
Okay.
Descript for me has been a life changer because I've worked with in real-time editors, and it takes a long time and it takes a lot of resources to repurpose a lot of content. So those tools for me, I love.
Great.
And I would definitely recommend to anybody to definitely try it out.
Awesome. Awesome. So I got one final question for you. We call the podcast X Factor because I believe every person has an X Factor that makes them special. What do you think your personal X Factor is?
Oh, my X Factor? I would say that I see people clearly.
Ooh, tell us more.
I love to tell people stories and company stories when I bring their marketing and brand to life. And I love to be able to work with people to find the spark and their talk, find their spark in their business. And because a lot of the times people don't know that their personal story really matters. And for me, it fills me up when I'm able to bring that out of somebody, because when they realize that they're the ones that have the magic sauce, for me, it's very gratifying to help a client do that.
I see people clearly. That's a wonderful X factor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Much. This is so great.
It was so great having you.
I loved your energy.
Thanks.